Hey y'all, I just wanted to share kind of a neat idea if you're working with an interior designer for the actual selections process. And so this is what I would recommend doing. You can either do this with someone who is an internal user of your JobTread, or you can also even use this with external users as well. So maybe the designer is a vendor in your JobTread. So here's what I've set up, and this is just really a way to make the selections process a lot easier on your designer and much more straightforward. So one way that I've built this together is I've really kind of created a cost group here specifically for designer selection write-ins. And so if we open that up, you'll see it's just a series of write-in cost items within this group that the designer will be informing for the job. And in this case, the designer is probably going to go out and source the items with the customer. They'll make their choices, offline, and then what you really need from the designer is for them to pop in here and enter in all of the selections that they've made. And so let's see how this works. So this is a cost group, and if I go to a job here, I can go into the selections tab, and now I can click this import button and import from my catalog. We're going to select this designer selection write-ins group. And now you'll see we're going to create a selection document for each individual write-in cost item here. And you can choose whether maybe this job doesn't include all of those. Totally fine. You can choose what ones you'd like to create. And then you'll choose the due dates. Or you don't need to choose the due dates right now. That's always an option too. And then your designer can inform that later. But let's go ahead and just randomly select due dates for each of these. Awesome. Great. And then it's going to create a document for each individual one here. But let's say we want the two paint color ones to be on one selection document. So in that case, I'm going to want to make sure that my due dates are the same for both of those lines and that the document name is the same. So maybe we'll just call it paint color selection. And now I want to make sure that the other one also is named paint color selection. And those will then end up on the same document. So then you're going to choose who's going to be the recipient of these documents. So is the customer going to be signing them, or is the designer going to be signing them? Just pre-populate who the recipients are. And again, we're just preparing the documents. They won't be sent quite yet. So you can have one or multiple people listed and then click create. And now the magic happens and you have a selection document for each one of those write-in items, and you can go ahead and expand them all, and you'll just see here is the one where your designer can enter in information for the accent lighting, and then as they scroll down they can add in information for appliance add-on selections. And you can always collapse them and they can work on one at a time, which might be a little bit easier. But then you'll also notice that paint color one, now it has the two write-in items on that one selection document. So that's an interesting idea for you all, so you can kind of streamline that process. Another way that you can do this is if you pop into your catalog and create a cost group. In this case, I just did a designer defined selections, and for this one in particular, my designer is going to go out and give my customers some options for different items. Kind of a good, better, best model, let's say. So in here I've created a good, better, best or cost item within each of these groups. And those will be informed selections that my designer is going to inform once they are deciding, options to give the client. I also added a few write-in items as well, just in case they do have very specific items that they're going to be selecting and they don't really want to give the options. So here is that cost group I've built. Now let's check out what happens with this one. Perfect. Okay, so if I click import, choose to import from my catalog, and now I'm going to choose those designer defined selections, good, better, best. And in this case, again, it's actually going to pull the selection groups from the catalog as well as those write-in cost items. And so you'll see the write-in cost items are at the bottom here, and then we have our groups. So again, you're just going to choose your due dates for these. Great. And then I probably want these write-ins to be also added to some of the others. So the accent lighting selection, I'll probably want to pop onto the lighting selections one. So I'm going to make sure that due date is the same, and then I'm going to choose the same document name, so they'll land on the same ones. And then cabinet hardware, I'm going to put in the cabinet selections one as well. And so we're going to choose this. Perfect. We have our recipient preloaded, and let's go ahead and create these documents. Perfect. So now we have a selection document for each of these selection categories. So now my designer can go in here and they can click on one, they can update the countertop name, maybe this is marble, and then they can enter in the description information, and they can even upload any files, photos, and videos directly to those particular options for the customer. And once they're ready, they can then send out one by one these selection documents to the customer. And in this case, you'll see we have the predefined selections that the designer can inform, and then the designer can also add in the write-in item as well for this one accent lighting piece. All right, I hope that kind of gives you some ideas, gets those wheels turning, and it helps you to kind of consider how you can leverage the selections tool in a different way. But the beauty to this is that your designer does not have to enter the budget tab at all. Any selections that are chosen and approved will be added directly to the budget so that you can then move forward with the job as needed. Thanks.